giant stratovolcano and a number of extinct dome volcanoes. It's just amazing geology out there. Oh, nerd picture. I left in one nerd picture, sorry. Geologic, different sort of rock minerals that you'll find in the area. There's North McCullough Range, and the reason why I bring all this up is because McCullough Range is amazing there. It's under threat. So some current things that our group is looking at and that we're trying to highlight to the community. I won't dwell on this too long. Just want to give you guys a heads up and ask you to maybe go to this website and read about it after the presentation or sometime soon. There's some industrial and residential development that is on deck for this area. Southern Nevada Water Authority would like to build a water pipeline that feeds into West Henderson and the south area of Las Vegas. They have two proposed routes, one of which goes straight through Sloan Canyon, straight through the North McCullough Range. So, yikes. Most of it would be underground. They promised us it would be underground, that there would be this, that, and the other thing. You know what? It's all the same. This is a conservation area and really should be protected from industrial development. So we're talking to them about it. We're talking to the city of Henderson about it and getting more information. So we're going to keep everybody apprised on that. It's on our radar. We hope to get it on your radar. The other thing that you may have heard about is the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act. Clark County is looking to expand its development boundary, that so-called SNPLMA or disposal boundary. They want to grow and develop as a community, add in some more residential, commercial development, a big industrial development zone down south in the Sloan area, so similar to the Apex business zone that's up near the Speedway in the north part of town. All fine and good. There's probably a discussion to be had about the benefits or not of further growth and development in the county when it comes to things like climate change, air quality, traffic, things like that. Discussions I'm sure the community will have. What we're paying attention to, and what I'd like to highlight, is that this new growth and development, the legislation is, there's a lot of horse trading in the legislation. There's a lot of, in exchange for this development, the county and the federal government are going to help designate some new wilderness areas around Clark County. One area they've kind of forgotten about is an area that, although already protected, Sloan Canyon, is kind of a threat in that this new growth and development is literally going to hug this national conservation area. It's, think about, for Gold Butte, instead of Lake Mead, if it wasn't just water, if there was just homes, urban sprawl, commercial development, big box, Amazon distribution centers in place of the water. What that might be like, how might that change the wilderness character of the wilderness areas in Gold Butte? How would it change the natural, the natural resources of the area? We're kind of considering that for Sloan right now. So it's on our radar. There's kind of this is a big tidal wave of action. We don't know if we can stop, big growth and development, but what we can do is maybe think about new ways of approaching conservation for an area like this. We've got some ideas we're going to be making public soon and asking folks to get on board with. So, hang on, everybody, hold on to your hats because it's going to get pretty interesting here soon as we try and figure out how to protect an area like Sloan Canyon when it's literally bear hugged by development and urban sprawl and industrial zones, solar, clean energy, big box stores, all that stuff. So stay tuned for that, guys. There is if you want to learn more, there's this website down here that you can go to read up on the bill, to read our response, and there is a petition. We're asking folks to get on board, building in more protections for Sloan and for the area. All righty, soapbox over. Let's have some fun and look up. So this is a introduction to backyard astronomy. Just as a sort of an intro, and pardon me if I'm assuming this program is geared towards folks that are really brand new to observing the night sky. I know already there are a few folks, a few veterans, a few folks that do this as a hobby. So bear with me. I'm going to explain a few things that you already know, but hopefully we can overall we can make this informative for everybody. So the proposition for this program is, hey, did you know that there are you can view craters on the moon with binoculars? A lot of people don't really know that. It doesn't really gel with folks. that you can view moons other than ours. And you can see an entire galaxy, an entire giant spiral galaxy that's so far away. It takes light 2.5 million years to get there from here. People don't really, they look up and they see stars, they see a sun, they see a moon. They're really not cognizant of of what else is up there. But when they find out, like it's fires the curiosity. It fires people's passions. So this is all about introducing folks to that. My background, I am not an astronomer by profession at all. I'm a burned out IT nerd. I do this for fun. I grew up as an astronomy buff, put it away during my as an adult, and picked it back up about 10 years ago or so. I sort of do this as a meditative exercise. I'll go out into Basin Range National Monument out into central Nevada, and I've got an 8-inch telescope, an 8-inch reflector telescope I take out there and just spend the night, drink a brew or two, look at some deep sky objects. I have tried my hand at astrophotography a little bit. You'll see in the lower right-hand corner, star trails, easy things like that I can do with the camera. I don't get very fancy. One thing I have tried, the picture in the lower left, is, and I'll show the tools how I use to do this, but that little dot that I'm circling on the moon is the International Space Station. There's places you can go in Nevada at certain times of the year, certain minutes actually, where if you're in the right spot at the right time, you can see the space station go past the moon or even the sun. It's pretty amazing. And for a few months, I made an exercise out of really driving out for an hour to a certain spot, spending 5 minutes setting up equipment, spending literally half a second to 1 second photographing the space station and putting everything back in the car and going home again. So this can get from a nice casual backyard, lay down in the blanket, look at the stars activity to you can really nerd out on this, and I have a little bit. And then a few years ago, I went up to Wyoming and was fortunate enough to shoot the big solar eclipse that happened up there. Or happened everywhere, but it was totality. It was pretty close to the line of totality and got some really amazing shots. Processed very few of them. This is one of them. It's very proud of that. It's gone from being very meditative to, again, just kind of sometimes I get that nerdy feeling. But if you're just getting started, like, how do you get started? What do you need? I kind of joke around sometimes the trailhead and say, well, you really need your eyes. But there is more to it than that. That's how passions are stoked, by just looking up in the sky. But if you want to know more, if you want to see more, the good news is you don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to break out that wallet too much. Folks go to an astronomy evening and they see big telescopes. They look at the deep sky objects with with a lot of glass, big telescopes. And then they, unfortunately, although it's a great experience, they go away thinking that that's what it takes to do astronomy as an individual, to go out even camping and view the night sky. Not necessary at all. You just need a couple simple tools, a pair of binoculars. Literally any pair of binoculars will do. I've even broken out some foldable cardboard binoculars that BLM gives away to kids as part of the Junior Ranger program. They're not ideal in the least, but we've been able to get some good views of the moon and some bigger deep sky objects. And that sets kids off. So it's amazing. Literally any pair of binoculars, it turns out, will do. The picture here is just your basic 7x35 binoculars. Any pair that you get from Exporting Goods or Bass Pro Shop, REI, they'll do. You need some light, since we all do this in the dark. For reasons which I'll explain later, I'd recommend getting a red light, or a flashlight with a red filter on it. I'll explain why shortly. And then, something to be comfortable, a chair, a blanket, anything like that. As Lynn mentioned earlier, sometimes it gets very cold, so bring a jacket. We live in the desert. It gets hot in the hot months and cold in the cold months. Item number 4 that you need, which will come in very handy, is a star map. Here's a couple of different varieties. I'm going to start with the old school ways of doing star navigation, and then work up to the modern day. These are the tools I had available to me many moons ago when I was a little kid learning. I had one of these on the right. There's this called a planisphere, but that's just the nerdy term for a star wheel. It's a map that will show you different views of the sky depending on the time of year and the time of evening, actually. There's the wheel itself has, oops, do I have, yeah, here we go. These are tools I don't use often enough. So the black dial will show the months. The frame shows hours. And what you do is just take the dial, line up the date with the hour that you want to view, and magically the window, the result will be in this window, the stars that are out at that time of the day, that time of or that time of the year, and that time of the evening. Let's see. Usually there's a south, so here we go. I covered it up and it says facing south. What you do here, I've got a version of it here in front of me in my little speaker window. You just really hold it above your head and make sure that the south notation, as you see here, is facing south. And that sort of gives you your flattened projection of a curved sky. The stars, as the stars come out, if you take a look at shine your flashlight on the star wheel, and then you'll get a sort of a bead for what stars are in the area, the patterns that you may see, and then take a look up in the sky as the sun goes down. You should see, at least when it comes to the brightest stars, it should be pretty easy to see some of those patterns. And I'll in a few minutes I'll talk about steps to make that sort of star navigation much easier. That's the star wheels are something that you purchase. Luckily, this is the age of the internet, so if you go to skymaps.com, the star map on the left is free and available to anybody with an internet connection. You can download this PDF. They have a different PDF for different hemispheres, different parts of the planet, north and south, and then different time each month of the year. So I went ahead and downloaded for last week's in-person program at Sloan Canyon. I did this last week for a bunch of folks at a local trailhead. I printed out a whole bunch of these for the month of March. It's two-sided. One side has the map on it, the star map, which works a lot like the dial. It's just, although it just shows you the sky during that month, so there's no dialing in the month. You're sort of locked into a month with this paper. And then the rest of the front and then the back has a lot of interesting information on planets you can see, on deep sky objects you can see throughout the month, milestones, weird astronomy facts, things like that. It's very interesting and it's totally free. It's amazing that a resource like that is available these days. And how do I, there we go. Boom. But that's paper, but especially for little kids, they've got a phone or a tablet in their hand. And of course, there's iPhone apps for everything. Probably not a shocker here. I've downloaded 4 or 5. I quit downloading and testing software after 4 or 5 of them, just because that's enough, right? We should be able to make a good choice out of those. I noted a few of them here. I don't have a hard recommendation for you all. What I recommend is download a couple yourself. They have slightly different features. They have overlays of art of the different constellations where they appear in the sky. So, whatever, some of them have like ethereal music that play in the background. It's pretty amazing. I'd recommend maybe download a couple if navigating the night sky, if you would like to try using a device for that, a phone or a tablet. I recommend downloading 1 or 2, take a look at the features and see what works best for you. And then, typically you can use a bunch of the features for free. And then if you want to use all the features, they ask you to pony up a couple bucks. The most expensive one I've found is this one right here, Stellarium. It's called Stellarium. I'm going to use the web version of it this evening to kind of show a fake night sky view, since we're all, looking at doing this program on our devices. So, I figure if I'm going to use the free web version of this, I should at least give you guys the option of downloading the app. It's $10. It's a little pricey for an app. It's $10, but looking at, I've used all those features. It's pretty amazing. Any questions so far? It's probably a natural break point, and I've been talking a lot. Any questions about maps or gear or anything like that before we move on? I'll take a swig. My non-Ginny water.
Yeah, if you'd like to ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. I believe we have some people that are trying to get on, Jim, that can't. The link was broken, and I've sent it a couple of times.
Oh, no problem.
I don't know. I feel bad.
Let's see. Oh, well, I'll just take a moment and gather my stuff. Actually, I'd like to share my probably browser next, so I'm going to set up for that while you let some folks in.
Well, we do have about 23 or so hooked in, so
Okay.
still says we had about.
So assuming you have this equipment, you have a pair of binoculars, you get nice and comfy, you've got a light and a map that you can refer to. What do you do then, right? We're in a situation here. I'm going to bring up that stellarium actually. This might be a little jarring. Bear with me. So I switch the app I'm viewing. So here's kind of a view of, except for that green grassy stuff you see in the side. It's like we're viewing the stars on a different planet. Who knows? But this is sort of a rough view of the night sky if we're looking south right now. So for all you that are in southern Utah or in the Mesquite area, you'd be probably looking over the lake, out over the Virgin Mountain, and seeing a view kind of like this. Now, typically I do this program. The big assumption is that folks are in light polluted skies. You know, this is how you do a backyard. This is how you practice backyard astronomy before you go on that big camping trip and are illuminated under 1 million stars, and where people get totally lost. I forgot to mention that. The reason why I do this program actually is the proposition here is that just what I said. Folks get interested in astronomy when it's too late, when they go camping, and they're sitting there on their blanket and they're looking up and they're like, the universe is amazing. I see like 1 million lights. How do I make sense of it all? And making sense of it all and sort of navigating around gets very hard when you're viewing at the entire universe. I had a benefit when I was growing up. I grew up south of Los Angeles in a very light polluted city, and it turned out that learning backyard astronomy was actually very easy, and it's easy learning in a light polluted environment. For the reason which you see on the screen right now is that in a light polluted environment, the detraction to that is that there's probably only a dozen, if you're lucky, a dozen or 2 dozen stars in the sky. The benefit to learning astronomy is that there are only a dozen or 2 dozen stars in the sky, and they're the brightest stars. So it makes learning navigation and sort of learning basic constellations much easier. If you can learn basic star patterns, learn some of the more prominent constellations, and sort of memorize those patterns and how they look in the sky, then when you do go out into the wilderness, when you do go out into our public lands, go out to Butte or up at elsewhere away from the city in the really dark skies, you can still, your mind will pick out those patterns, pick out those light patterns, and it'll make getting around the sky much easier. So to get back to our screen, this is sort of what our sky looks like tonight, assuming there's no clouds in the sky. I'm going to try to, again, it's a little bit of I'm translating an in-person program to virtual. So I'm going to try going back and forth between this view and the star map. Bear with me a little bit. If your screens flicker, I'm going from different one resolution to another. I'll try to keep the madness down to a dull roar here. So going back to our star map. So if you look at this, these star wheels, the bigger dots are the brighter stars. I usually recommend, for navigating the night sky, I recommend choosing a base star. So it's sort of like a home star. It's usually the brightest star in the sky for a given time of year. At this time of year, that star is this one right here, Sirius, the dog star. And indeed, if we go back to our nighttime view, we're pretending we're outside, we see a few stars in the sky. The one, here I can go back in time a little bit, the one that appeared to pop out first is Sirius, right? There it is, right there. Just in case you're viewing this on a smaller device, you can't see what I see up close. So a star is popping out in the evening. That's Sirius. So I've got a bead now for looking at the star map. There's a star. I can see a star in the sky. For navigation, you sort of want to see where everything is in relation to everything else. There's some other bright stars in the sky. Oh boy, using these tools, hopping back and forth between the tools is pretty challenging. Bear with me. There we go, annotation mode. So there's our, oh, interesting. Okay, I forgot, I programmed this. Okay, so there's Sirius. If we look at for some other bright stars, here's one over to the right that's called Rigel. And then going back to Sirius, if I go up a little bit, there's one called Procyon. Kind of forms a little triangle there, a little V shape. So if I, assuming I have this in my hand when I'm outside, if I look at the sky dial and look up, and I want to see how that translates to the night sky, and I'll go forward in time a little bit, and there we go. As stars start popping out, we kind of see that V. So there's our dog star. There's the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. A little over to the right, there's Rigel. And if I go back to Sirius and up again, there's Procyon. So there's that V shape. So we've now got, we're starting to do some pattern matching between the sky map, the star wheel, and the night sky. Typically, I'm doing this program for a lot of kids as well as adults. And you know, if you're into astronomy at all, or have any bit of experience with this, you know that there are units of the night sky. You can talk about degrees of arc, minutes, seconds. There's all these units that are used to navigate around. Especially if you have equipment, I kind of shelve all that and talk about using measurements or a ruler, one that everybody has. You don't have to buy it. Hopefully you have two of them, and that's your hands. So using your hands for a measurement comes in very handy, especially for kids. If we're talking to a bunch of folks, adults have bigger hands than kids do. So using a hand as a ruler comes in very handy when families are learning how to navigate the night sky. Let's see. And this is how. So if you're familiar with the units of arc, minutes or degrees of arc, minutes, seconds, that kind of thing, we kind of forego that and just talk about hand widths. So typically what I ask folks to do is take those three stars that we pointed out before, especially the first two, Sirius and Rigel, that are kind of next to each other, and holding out your one hand, or maybe it takes two, maybe it takes more than one. Put your hand in a ball, make a fist, hold out in front of you, and then figure out how many fists it takes to get from Sirius to Rigel. And so we kind of do that. Here's my little virtual representation of that. At least for my little sausage fingered tipped hands here. When I hold out my fist, it's about 2 jimbo fist widths between Sirius and Rigel. That comes in handy. Now we have a unit of measurement. Now I can take a look at this star map and say, okay, if it's 2 hand widths, 2 fist widths between Sirius and Rigel, how many hands does it take to get to Procyon, right? To that third star that we were talking about. Oh boy. Yeah, here we go. How many to get to there? So it's shorter between these two stars than it is between these two stars. So maybe 1.5 or so, one fist width, 1.5. It depends on who you are. It depends on how big your hands are. This comes in handy in that when the sky gets dark and you are facing more than just a dozen stars, and you want to find some of these objects, so you'll see whether you use a phone or one of these star dials. Oh, come on. Where are the deep sky objects? I'm looking for a deep sky objects on this dial real quick. Here it is. Here's one. Nope, that's a star. There's a few in here. So they're noted. Here it is, M35. So there's this little object right here, and it's labeled M35. So besides stars, besides the moon and the sun, people want to know, okay, what can I see in the sky? Everything that's outside of our solar system, things like nebula, gaseous clouds in the universe, groups of stars, like clusters of stars, galaxies, things like that are called in amateur astronomy, called just simply deep sky objects. Everything that's sort of out away from our solar system is in the deep part of the universe, deep sky objects. 300-400 years ago, there were French astronomers, especially one, Charles Messier, that just sat in his balcony, his backyard with a telescope. Back when there was no electricity, and back then no electric lights, so even in an urban area, skies were very dark. And he started cataloging these deep sky objects. He started with objects he can see with his eyes. So it makes it very interesting in that that's why these basic star maps will have these messy objects on them, is that they're not objects that you need a big telescope for. They're objects that are, if you're in a sky that's even decently dark, you should be able to see either with your naked eye or with the benefit of a little bit of magnification that the binoculars bring. So this kind of this measurement comes in very handy in that it's easy to measure fifth widths between bright stars, but what if you want to reach one of these objects right here? It takes sort of knowing, having that base star or being able to start with a bright star nearby and saying, okay, from here, can I clear this? No, I built all this into the image. So, what's the closest bright star to this M35 object? It would probably be Rigel here. There's Capella. There's other ones. I'm just going to go ahead and use my examples here going through. But so Rigel, or even even Sirius, the brightest star. Let's use that. So if you want to chart a course between Sirius and this object, you know where Sirius is. It's the brightest star in the sky. You should be able to see maybe the center. I have to get rid of my little interface here, but the center of the dial with the hole, the part with the hole in it, that represents the area right above your head in the night sky. So from Sirius, to get to this area here, so we have a measurement already, right? The distance between Sirius and Rigel is 2 fifth widths. So we've got this distance here, this distance here. They look relatively the same. So you could probably, if you were to hold sort of from Sirius, hold your 2 fifths out sort of in the general direction of, between Sirius and the center, where the hole is, the top of the sky, right above your head, or perhaps Sirius, and if you can figure out in the sky, if you can see Capella or Capella, I always forget how that was pronounced, then that object is in between those 2 bright stars. So, but how far away from Sirius is it? Well, if we got this reference here, 2 hand widths, you can sort of stack 2 hands from Sirius in the direction of Capella, and that kind of gives you your spot to aim your binoculars at. Boy, I've never had to explain that with actually everybody looking in the night sky before. So I'm going to take a second and pause and ask for questions. Does anybody have any questions about that? I can only see everybody's reactions and sort of gauge if people are getting it or not, but I can't do that now. So I'm going to take a moment and pause and grab a drink. And if anybody has any questions, please throw them out on the table. No matter how.
You guys can ask by the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and speak.
Why is it called deep sky as opposed to something else sky?
Deep sky, so I think distances are relative, especially in the universe. So objects that are within our solar system that are always moving. So a lot of the planets, because they are moving pretty fast from our point of view around the sun, they wander around the sky throughout the year. Planets will, between one, there's one planet that's actually, here, let me kill that. We'll go back to our night sky. There's a planet in the night sky right now, and that is Mars. So we've been dealing with, here's our Sirius, here's our dog star, or what I call my base star, the star that I kind of begin my navigations at. And I can go to Rigel, there's my 2 fifths, and I can go from there and sort of break left a little bit and head up, and there's a red star here called Antares. It's in the constellation of Taurus the Bull. Right next to Antares right now is another red star you'll see in the sky. That's the planet Mars. The planet Mars is close to us relative to everything else in the universe, right? I can't even guess how far it is away. I don't know where in its yearly orbit it is, but it's certainly close compared to everything else in the night sky. So
it's shallow sky?
yeah, exactly. So it's kind of shallow to our point of view. From one month, next month it won't be next to Antares. It may be over here, right? And then it will go over here the next month. It's moving against the background of stars. It's moving much faster. So that's kind of shallow. Whereas everything else kind of does not. The stars will move compared to each other over thousands of years. They're so far away that we can, their movements are imperceptible to us. So we think of those as deep sky objects. They're very far away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh boy. When it comes down to, and please, if you still have a question or maybe looking to unmute or something, just interrupt me and I'll pause and we'll take care of business. But so you have this kind of gauging, you're able to gauge now. This is all about translating what's on your map to what's in the sky without using a lot of onerous, weird, nerdy units or a lot of expensive equipment. This does come in handy when there's a million stars out, again, when it's a dark sky and every star looks very bright, or there's a lot more bright stars out there. That's when this pattern matching comes in very handy. If you spend a few nights, or if you get into doing this kind of stargazing in your backyard or local trailhead, you can, and your mind again will. I think I'm repeating myself here, but your mind will learn these basic patterns of constellations. It'll make it easier to navigate around when the sky is very dark and there's a lot of things popping out into your eyeballs. Let's see. What was that? M30, M35. If we go back to our sky here, as things get a little darker, I'm moving us forward to a little after 8 o'clock. So here's Sirius. Here is, can I find Capella? There we go. So we're kind of now pretending that we're viewing the night sky. So here's our, nope, let's try that again. Here's our base star, there's Capella. So we said, okay, it's probably the same distance between Sirius and Rigel as between Sirius and M35, I think it was called. So it should be somewhere in this area. When you're navigating the night sky with binoculars, and pardon me if I don't want to unshare this stuff quite yet, but a great way to view, well, I get asked a lot, when I look through binoculars, all of a sudden everything's zoomed in. How do I do this navigation when I'm looking through binoculars? The key is to do the navigation first and then hold the binoculars up to your eyes. There's a trick that works much more often than it doesn't, where if you're staring at something in the sky, keep on staring at it and then hold your binoculars up in front of your eyes. And more often than not, you'll land on that view you'll need to get to. Whatever you're looking at kind of in this area, when you hold the binoculars up, your binoculars will be pointed in that direction. Kind of a weird, like muscle memory sort of trick. So here we'll go back. Okay, there's our guess. So now if I zoom in, wait, how can I do this and be out of, oh yeah. Nope, that's not it. I forgot to look up and see what the M35 was. Nope. Nope. Please tell me, is this it? Okay. You can tell the deep sky objects in this, in online and in digital sky maps, they have different shapes. So there's this weird oval shape. That's a deep sky object. You'll see this little dotted line or dotted circle object in here. That's one also. Again, it's a Messier object, so it should be, I shouldn't have to zoom in to get this virtual view of it. Well, maybe it's not 2 hand spans away. Is this it? No. Oh boy, the best laid plans. It's one of these. M35, got it. Okay. Wow. So so my measurements were wrong. I'm guessing how far away this stuff is, and clearly my guess was not correct. Nope. Let's clear that. There we go. So it is much more than when I'm doing a spherical projection. It is much more than much farther away than between Sirius and Rigel. It is about twice as far away. Interesting. I'm not sure how I screwed that up, but there you go. So perhaps it's better to use one of these digital ones after all. Assuming if you are using a digital tool like this, and this confusion will lessen, and it'll be obvious. Okay, the trick still works in that here you have your base measurement, 2 hand spans between Sirius and Rigel. So here's the longer view. What is that? That's about twice as much. So that would be maybe 4 hands away. So if you look up at the sky, look at Sirius and stack your hands 1, 2, kind of like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, just very basic measurements there. That should get to the area. That'll get to your target area. Well, here's a nice feature of this software is it can show you when there are satellites in the area too. It's a satellite going by. Okay, my little screw up there may have caused some confusion. I don't know though. Anybody have any questions about how this works? How to use base measurements between 2 bright stars to figure out where in the night sky you can view other objects that may not be so apparent. Okie dokie. Let's go back to the presentation. Oh, we're about there. Here's some other resources you can use. So I talked about sky maps before. So you can download a free star map as a PDF and then print it out. There are also some good websites that will just give you some tips. Okay, in the month of March, here are the things to look out for with some interesting pictures. Earth Sky is one site. That's at earthsky.org. And then Sky and Telescope. I'm not sure if it's still a magazine, but when I was growing up, Sky and Telescope was one of the more popular astronomy magazines out there. And they have a good website as well that can just give you some tips for what things to look for in the night sky in a given month. And actually, I have some of these up right now. So here's Earth Sky. And it just shows you, okay, for the month of March, here are some things to look at different times of the month. And it sort of gives you this, its reference points are also very much about star hopping. And, looking at patterns and saying, okay, the Pleiades, as we can see here, if I annotate, just roll over what it's conveying. So, here's the belt. And if you keep on going with the line of the belt, you'll reach another interesting object. So it's more than, I was focusing on the measurement part and the handspan part. But once you get to recognize star patterns, you'll be able to navigate in this way as well. There's some common routes that are out there. Like if you look, everybody knows the Big Dipper. I hope so. The edge of the Big Dipper, the edge of the bucket part of the Dipper, those 2 stars. If you extend the line out, those 2 stars will point to the North Star. So there are little tricks like that you'll learn, and that website like this will clue you into as to where interesting things are in the night sky. You can use the handspan method, or you can sort of use these patterns that you'll learn over time to find these areas. What else did I have here to share? I need to get some of these little interface tools out of the way. Here's Sky and Telescope's website. Again, very much the same thing. Things to look at in the sky, where the moon is. this is a good, this graphic I have right here is a good demonstration of how far the moon moves in a day compared to the backdrop of the night sky. I think it's 15 degrees or so, which would be 1 fist and 1.5 fists. It moves about 1.5 fists, I think, through the sky in the evening. I hope I have that right. If anybody knows any better, please chime in and correct me. I'd hate to leave you guys with wrong information. And then what else did I have? Well, here's the sky map close up and the backside. So again, it's it all comes down to these. It may seem very weird. These M objects. They are once you view the moon, once you view the planets, and you're like, well, what else can I view? A star is as fascinating as the stars are. They're most fascinating when they're in patterns, when they're grouped together. Otherwise, a star is just a point of light, and they all kind of look the same after a while. So a lot of backyard astronomy is about looking at these, looking for these M objects, which could be globular clusters, groups of stars that are so clustered together it looks like a kind of a cotton ball, almost like a solid in the middle, and then it radiates out into less dense parts of stars or star clusters. Very amazing. Or nebula, which are giant clouds of gas in the universe. And I can show you a nebula real quick with oh, here we go, back to stellarium. I've been spending a lot of time in this area. This is a great time of year to do this program because the constellation Orion is, whoops, there we go, is in the night sky. This whole sector of the sky has a lot of bright stars, a lot of amazing deep sky objects. It's a great place to learn astronomy. And if we zoom in, we can see a nebula. So during the program, when we break out the big telescope, we have a task for folks to look for the Orion Nebula with their binoculars. This nebula is so large and so bright that you can actually see it with the naked eye. You may not think may not be able to discern it because there's so many points of light in the sky. But if you know where to look, you can see a little patch. It looks like a little cloud. It's not. It's a nebula. It's a deep sky object. And we kind of zoom in here into a sort of a Hubble Space Telescope view. The more we zoom in, and you can see it's this really awesome area. It's so bright to our eyes that it almost has depth. It has sort of fake depth. I look at it and I can see ridges. I can see relief in it. It almost looks very three-dimensional. In binoculars, the same way. And if you have an opportunity to look through a larger telescope, I mean, it will look amazing in a large telescope. And there, as you can tell, as you roll around here, there are nebula all over the sky. Some of them are named like this and have these M designations. Some of them are a little fainter or require larger telescopes to view. There's one big benefit to having a larger telescope, and that's the larger glass, be it a lens or a mirror, whatever's collecting the light in the telescope. The larger that that object is, the more light it will collect. That said, binoculars that are great to get started. They can view, right? You want to learn where these easy to access objects are first before you try to access the very faint objects. Again, it's all about finding your way around the sky. All right. I think I'm running out of program. This is great.
You were working with some new people in the sky. What would be the maybe handful of initial reference patterns you'd start wanting to show people that are most easily recognizable?
Yes. So again, when it comes to the night sky here, I'm going to pull out a little bit. Orion is a good constellation because it looks like a person, right? Our eyes are trained to look for or to anthropomorphize objects. So we can look at a bunch of stars. We can look at a petroglyph in a rock, and even if it's not a person, if it looks anything like a person, we think it's a person. Our mind automatically goes there. So Orion is a great constellation because I'll turn off the connectors. It's got a very interesting, it sort of looks like a person just looking at it. There's the belt. All of a sudden I'm just rehashing the lines, right? But here's Here's the guy's belt. There are his shoulders. There are his knees. He's holding a sword. He's holding a shield. He's battling a bull. So it's interesting in that there are stories to tell in these constellations. You can look up and be amazed and look at the objects and see them for what they are. But there's a lot of mythology. There's a lot of stories that helped create these patterns and help create these constellations. It's worth doing a little. I know Brenda, the Friends of Butte, when they do in-person astronomy nights. The last one I was at, there was a person who was there and told some of those stories. Fascinating, very fascinating way to do that. And here we go. I think, actually, I forgot. There's a mode where we can turn on. There we go. So there's the dude. There's Orion. He's battling the bull. There's another constellation here, Canis Major, the big dog in Latin. And it kind of looks like a dog, even without the, I keep on going to this annotation mode, even without the artistic help. You can kind of see, once you see it once, you can never, it's hard to unlearn it. But you can see the head, the body, the legs. Once you see the dog, you can never unsee it, really. There's other parts of the sky, Sagittarius, that the brightest stars in the sky looks like a teacup. It'd probably take too long to roll this forward in time enough to see it, but so every time of the year has an interesting little array of constellations and patterns in the sky that you'll be able to learn. I just happen to find this part of the sky the most fascinating. It's the first part of the sky when I was 11 years old and really glommed onto this, doing this as a hobby. This is the part of the sky I started around this time, springtime. These are the stars in the sky. So these are the stars I always come back to when I in turn teach this to other folks. Yeah, cool beans. Sorry, all of a sudden I'm staring at the sky now. I'm in stargazing mode myself. All righty, happy to make this deck. I mean, this is very visual heavy, but all the same, I'm happy to make the deck available for folks if they want to copy off these websites or the examples I was using. We can also include them. I'll make sure Brenda has those URLs so she can share them in another way if you like.
That would be great, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have questions?
We can post it up on our website for people to find easy.
Pardon me, one more time?
Oh, I was going to say, if you'll send the deck to Brenda, I'll make sure we get it posted up to our website so people can find it easy.
You got it, will do. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just spent an hour talking about that. I thought this would be a 30-minute thing.
No,
Sorry,
you
gang.
talked on. That's good. Anyone have questions for Jim besides those that have already been asked?
Feel free to open your mic up and
Could you suggest a globular cluster that is fairly easy to see now?
Ooh, no, I can't. But only because I don't know. I can't remember what's off the top of my head. Give me a. That's the dumbest way to say that. I apologize. Orion, I just don't know what it's called, but here, can I go back to some of these there are globular clusters in here. This is that stellarium with a web version of it, so there's nothing to download. It's just a website. It's kind of like using Google Maps, except you're looking up instead of down. And every one of these little guys that's a reflection nebula. If you click on these deep sky objects, it sort of gives you a little history of it, sort of the beginning of a Wikipedia article. And I am hoping that if I just happen to stumble on a globular cluster, I know there's one around here somewhere. I just can't recall which one it is. And I would hate if you guys just sit here for 10 minutes watching me find something. So I will challenge you to do this afterwards. go to stellarium-web.org and search your heart out. Open cluster. Oh, here's okay, so this is an open cluster. So it's these, I think it means like these stars right here are grouped together enough that they're considered a cluster of their own.
Hey, Jim, there's another, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
There's another question. Why did you say to use a red light?
Yes, thank you very much. So when it comes to seeing in the night sky, you want to dark adapt your eyes. Especially if you're in the backyard and you have lights on the deck, or if you're camping, right, and the kids are in their tent and everybody's sort of got a flashlight and they're running around, you may want to step away from the action and let your eyes dark adapt. So white light shining in your eyes will keep you from seeing a lot of the stars in the night sky. You want to give if you do this sort of way in a dark sky area, you want to give yourself maybe about 20 minutes away from white light to give your eyes a chance to see those faint objects. A red light will give you the benefits of shining light on a map or an area you need to, but will not take away from your dark adaptation. Your eyes will. It's the shorter wavelengths, the blues, the whites, those wavelengths that will ruin your eyes to adapt into the dark. The longer wavelengths, so in the red, tend to do that far less. So you'll see a lot of astronomy nights. It's just a sea of red lights, and indeed, even these days, what do you call them? The lights that you put on your forehead. Oh my gosh, I'm melting with terms. Headlamps. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. Headlamps will have a dark mode on them now, so they'll have the lights that flash or shine white, and then they usually have one that shines red, just for that purpose. And it helps with camping also. If you're around just bebopping around the middle of the night, you use the restroom or you take a bio break or do some kind of task in a dark sky. If you turn a white light on, it kind of, all you can see is what's in front of you. You can't really see anything else in your peripheral vision. If you turn a red light on, you can see both what's in front of you and still keep that dark vision, your peripheral vision. Wow. So it's handy for more than just astronomy. It's handy for, just kicking out in public lands as well.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to look at the Pleiades, but if I stare directly at them, they disappear. But if you look sort of at an angle and not totally stare at them, it's sharper. How can that be?
So, I'm digging back into my memory for this. Okay, so your eyes have, when we were growing up, we learned that our eyes have cones and rods. If I recall, the cones are the parts of they're the sensors that see in color, and the rods are the ones that kind of see black and white. Most of the cones in your eyes are gathered towards the center, and also the nerve that the light information passes through to get to your brain is around the center of your eye, the center of the back of your eye. So that part where the nerve is connected doesn't have any rods or cones, or not a lot of them. So if you're looking at an object straight ahead and it is faint and it is in black and white or grayscale, your cones won't be able to pick them up. And so it kind of disappears. Plus, if you're looking at it with the part of your eye that has no receptors whatsoever, that image will seem to disappear. We don't see, when I say that there's a part of the back of your eye that has no sensors at all, that's where the nerve is, the optic nerve. We never see that in our normal vision. Our brain will fill in that area with images of sky, or with other things that you really can see or pick up. Your brain will fill in those gaps, and so it's undetectable to you. But it does become detectable to you when you're in when you're in a stargazing scenario where you're looking at an object and there are no other points of reference that your brain can use to fill in that space. So it fills it in with nothing. So you can be looking, and that's just my long way of saying, yeah, you can be looking at the Pleiades, you could be looking at a deep sky object. If you're looking directly at it, it may disappear on you. Amateur astronomers get very good at looking at objects with their peripheral vision. So maybe look directly to the left or right of an object. And you have, ironically or strangely, you have a much better chance of seeing more detail in a deep sky object if you don't look directly at it. Thank you for bringing that up. That's not something I normally bring up during my program in person.
It
I
also
wonder if adults get that. Kids have a hard time with it.
says, does the light from the phone screen app affect your view as the white light does?
Yes, but any good iPhone app, this web version does it also. It has a nighttime mode, so you can put it in nighttime mode, and it will it will tint everything on the screen red. Again, so you can have that visual reference. You can look at your device and have that star map, but it won't affect your night vision.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
But
I
don't you
noticed
still
on
have
your,
that white band across the screen? The
Pardon me?
white, don't you still have that white title bar across the screen now?
In this, yes. You mean like you're talking about like up here? Yeah. In this one, in the web browser,
Yeah.
that's still on there. You can put this. You can put this.
And on the phone app, you can set them to be full screen also, so that.
There you go. Yeah, you can put it into full screen, but I hope it didn't flicker everybody's screen too hard. But yeah, you can get rid of those interface elements by just going to
Okay.
full screen mode.
Jim, is there something on the Stellarium page there that you could use to identify those particular satellites that are going across, or is that beyond their cataloging?
I should just not quit sharing this thing. While I'm answering questions, here we go. So there should be a search. I can go to a search bar here and say, show me the International Space Station.
Yeah.
It has all these major satellites in its database. So
Oh,
right
good.
now, we're looking at the space station, but it's below the horizon. Ooh, this is a weird view here. This is those views you see on Instagram, right? Where everybody's on a weird planet. There we go. So right now it's below the horizon. But yeah, you can, and a lot of these iPhone star maps will have that also. You can look through a catalog of satellites.
But will it if you sort of click on a particular satellite as it's going across, will the website identify which satellite it is?
Oh yes, pardon me. Yeah, it sure will. Let's see if I can. Where is that one? It's probably gone by now. Anything in Stellarium, if you click on it, it will. If it has a database entry for it, it will tell you about it. Oh, there's one.
Yep.
No. Okay, let's do some. It's a Starlink satellite. Uh-oh. In the past 2 years, we've got these are the bane of astronomers' existence. I think it's Starlink, right? Those all the little CubeSats. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong satellites. But yeah, you can click on it. There we go. It's Starlink satellite. Gives you information on it.
I don't know whether you've seen it or not, or anybody else has seen it, but there's a tremendous photograph that was taken during that solar eclipse in 2017. But it was a NASA photograph that had there was a series of 7 images of the space station as it was transiting the lighter part of the sun during the eclipse. It was the coolest shot you could ever imagine.
Nice. I along with getting video with my DSLR and telescope, I had my iPhone just aiming towards the sun when it happened, and you can see you can see 2 planes. I think there's 2 NASA planes, one in front of the eclipse and one in back of it. But you can see the contrails go by, and you see the contrail, and then you see this big dark spot, and then 2 minutes later, does the spot leaves, the other contrail appears. Pretty wild.
Do you ever do sort of overnight stargazing tours, or is that not? You haven't enough time for that.
I have thought about it. I don't know. Is there a way to do something like that? Maybe there's a raise hand feature in Zoom, right? Show a hand. The way to do that with anybody?
Yeah, Jim, we
Sure.
want you to do that up at Aravata Springs. We've been trying to schedule an overnight there for stargazing, which I think would be
Sure.
fabulous because they're totally in the dark there.
I'd be happy to participate. I haven't made it to that ranch yet, so that's the old like me ranch, right?
Pardon me? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And we can host a lot of people there. And we've been planning one, but COVID kind of got in the way. So maybe
Yeah.
this fall coming up, we'll get it on the map again. We're good.
I'm in.
It's a really
Yeah.
cool place. Plus, it would be great to have you there.
I am in. I'm all about this stuff. I'm not the as you can tell, I'm not the greatest expert in the world. Probably want to invite some other folks from the Astronomy Society or some of you folks. I'm sure I know of have experience here, so I'd be happy to lend my voice. I'm not sure to invite folks to haul out for an hour to listen to me hum and ha and guess at some of this stuff. So I'd be happy to participate as long as I'm not the only expert in the
Oh,
group.
that's absolutely great. We'll definitely put you on the agenda.
Cool beans. If you're using this or using any of these tools and you have a question or you just have a question about the program tonight and we leave and you still have the question, hit me up. It's my name. It's Jim or Jay Stanger at friendsofsloan.org, or you can hit me up at Road Up on Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Have you have a question like this for me? Happy to answer questions like this anytime.